Arthur is an ordinary boy, seemingly living a normal life, but in his past life, he was Grey Rose, the evil king who ruled the world with his power and destroyed nations with bombs after conquering them. No one could stand against him, and those who tried were mercilessly wiped off the planet. However, even with all the power in the world, he felt unsatisfied with his life because he was all alone. One day, he unexpectedly found himself sinking in an endless ocean. A voice urged him to look for the light in his next life. The king came to the realization that he had just passed away. In the blink of an eye, he awoke in a dim room with two strangers hovering over him. They called him Arthur and kept saying how much he looked like their son. Even though he had no clue who they were or where he was, he soon understood that he had been reborn, retaining all the memories and knowledge from his previous life. The once great king, now just a regular baby, felt incredibly awkward in his new life as Arthur. He struggled to control his body and acted like a little kid. One day, Arthur watched his father use magic to enhance his strength, allowing him to plow the fields with a single punch, and then saw his mother heal him after he got hurt. That is the first thing that makes him curious, and he realizes that this world is not Earth, as it is filled with magic. Soon, Arthur discovers that his dad is an adventurer who frequently goes out to hunt monsters with his friends. He understands that since everyone in this world can carry weapons, it must be a pretty dangerous place. So he decides he needs to get strong quickly to defend himself. Unfortunately, that day is still a long way off because right now, he's just a baby who falls asleep whenever his mom sings. However, he soon gets over his frustration and starts to appreciate these calm moments, especially since in his previous life, he was always at risk of being attacked by assassins while he slept. After a few months, Arthur finally starts crawling around the house. He pretends to be asleep so his mom will leave him alone, then sneaks into the library to look for information about this world. He finds that the continent he lives on has a dwarf country to the south and an elf country to the north. The human kingdom is ruled by a king, but unlike his previous life, the king's son automatically becomes the new king here, without any deadly battles for the throne. Arthur then finds another book about magic and realizes that magic is why this world is so behind in science and technology. He learns that only about 1% of the population can use magic, and a person's magical ability often depends on their parents' abilities. The book explains that there are two main types of magic users: augmenters, who use mana to boost their physical strength and fight like warriors, and conjurers, who can project mana outside their bodies like wizards. Arthur discovers that his dad is an augment, but he believes his mom isn't a regular conjurer due to her healing abilities. He decides to push those thoughts aside and keeps reading about how to become a magic user. The book explains that to use magic, one must have a magic core, which is created by concentrating mana within the body to a single point. Most people can only achieve this during puberty, and it often takes years to develop a strong and effective mana core. However, Arthur remembers a similar idea from his past life, where he could control his body's internal energy called Kai, and creating a Kai core was much like forming a mana core. He starts to concentrate his mana, hoping to take the first step toward becoming powerful in this new world. Just as he is about to create his mana core, his mom finds him and brings him back to bed. 2 years go by quickly, and one day, while Arthur's mom is busy writing in her diary about him, he steps outside to practice sword fighting with his dad. As he swings a wooden stick like a sword, his mom comes out and gets really mad at his dad for teaching their son to use a sword when he just learned to walk. Arthur has figured out that his mom is the one in charge at home. She also takes him to the nearby city sometimes, and Arthur loves it because he gets to learn so much about the world. He's curious about everything, from weapons to weird items he finds. But what fascinates him the most is magic, and being in the city gives him the best chance to see it up close. Arthur enjoys a calm life with his parents, and even though he feels weird being stuck in a baby's body, he starts to appreciate the peaceful life. His parents take care of everything he needs, which reminds him of his childhood at the orphanage in his past life, where he wished for a family, but his dreams never came true. One day, Arthur catches his dad trying to practice magic to boost his mana core. He feels super excited to watch and learn, but his dad can only lift a few stones off the ground with his mana. Arthur isn't really impressed since he thinks it would be quicker to just pick them up by hand. Then, his mom comes over and tells him that his dad isn't at his best yet. After that, his dad focuses his energy again to show off for his wife and unleashes a bunch of powerful attacks that shake the ground. This time, Arthur is really impressed by his dad's abilities. His mom believes that when Arthur grows up, he will also become a strong warrior. Arthur is eager to give it a try right away, but his mom decides it's time for him to take a nap. As they pass by the library, Arthur begs his mom to let him read some books. She firmly says no, but he gives her an innocent, pleading look that she just can't say no to. In the end, she decides to leave him with the books while she steps outside to join his dad. Arthur then concentrates all the mana in his body to create his mana core, something he's been working on for 2 years. He feels like he's really close to succeeding, and suddenly, his mana core forms inside him. This causes a huge explosion that destroys the house, and Arthur's dad gets hurt while trying to shield his wife. They both freak out, worried that their son might be in trouble. But when they go inside, they can't believe their eyes when they see Arthur floating in the sky with a golden glow. He gets on the ground and starts walking towards them. When suddenly the rubble from the roof falls towards him, he panics, fearing that this is going to be the end of his life. But both his parents lunge towards him to keep him safe. Arthur realizes only after this that his parents have the duty to keep him safe. But when they start crying, he gets confused. In his previous life, he never experienced anything like this, and even the parents of other kids never showed any emotions other than pride or disappointment. As he wonders what this new feeling is, Arthur starts crying too instinctively, clinging onto his mother. A few years later, Arthur has grown into a young boy eager to learn combat skills from his father. They stand in the garden, facing each other, as his dad offers him his treasured gloves. However, Arthur rejects it. He knows he isn't strong enough to use them yet. Instead, he grabs a wooden sword and his father does the same. Arthur quickly charges at his dad, attempting to land 3 hits, but his father easily blocks every strike with his greater strength. Realizing his dad is using magic to enhance his stick, Arthur decides to channel his own mana into his wooden sword. He charges at his dad again, and this time, his dad is surprised when Arthur's attack breaks his stick in 2. Arthur beams with pride, boasting that his wood is superior to his father's. Despite everything, his dad understands that Arthur is exceptionally talented, so he decides to have a serious talk with his wife about sending Arthur away to get a real tutor. His mom, Alice, is totally against it because she doesn't want to lose her son, especially since he's only 4 years old. Reynold argues that at just 4, Arthur's potential is way stronger than his own, which means he should be trained by a skilled warrior. But before they can make a choice, Arthur jumps in, suggesting that they should all go together. Even though it seems like a silly idea, both parents quickly agree, probably because the housing crisis hasn't really hit their world yet. A couple days later, Alice and Reynolds' previous members arrive to travel with them, and Arthur introduces himself to all of them. His parents' old party consisted of Adam the leader, Angela the big jugged woman, Durd the average-looking man, Helen the archer, and Jasmine the manic pixie girl. They soon decided to move on, and Arthur realized that this world relied on pretty basic transportation compared to his own, where they had air hubers to get around. After a while, they took a break to eat, but things took a turn when a pack of wolf monsters showed up, attracted by the food. Jasmine quickly jumped into action, grabbing 2 daggers and fighting off any wolves that approached her, while Reynold, Adam, and Helen took down more wolves with their weapons. Meanwhile, Durd and Angela used their magic to wipe out the rest of the beasts. That night, they celebrated by feasting on the monsters they had defeated. After a while, Alice sees that Reynold is still bleeding from his arm and chooses to help him heal. The other party members quickly get up and form a protective circle around them, which confuses Arthur. However, he soon learns that Alice is a unique mage with rare healing magic. Because this magic is so uncommon, Alice is often in danger of being captured, which is one reason they relocated to the countryside. Fortunately, the healing magic works perfectly. Afterward, Adam decides he wants to get some exercise and asks Arthur to train with him. Arthur agrees to the training and they prepare for the sparring session by charging their weapons with mana. To Adam's surprise, Arthur makes the first move, using magic to boost his speed. He dashes towards Adam like lightning, vanishing and reappearing behind him, catching Adam off guard. Unfortunately, Arthur slips, giving Adam a chance to react, and they soon find themselves in a fierce battle. Everyone is amazed by Arthur's quickness, but at the last moment, he gets thrown into the air due to his light weight. Angela has to use her wind magic to catch him, allowing him to land softly on the ground. Meanwhile, the rest of the team scolds Adam for being too rough with someone so small. Adam tries to defend himself, saying the boy is really strong, but no one pays attention. Jasmine, however, is fascinated by Arthur's abilities and starts asking him about the techniques he's using. The next few days pass by fast as Arthur trains, eats, sleeps, and trains again with almost everyone in the group. He learns Lance's techniques from Adam, does push-ups with Reynold, practices archery with Helen, and runs with Jasmine, who seems to really like the little guy. Soon, they continue their journey in the carts. Suddenly, a bunch of arrows come flying at them, and Arthur quickly realizes they are being attacked by bandits. Dird and Adam leap in front of the carts while Angela uses her wind magic to blow away the arrows. Arthur peeks outside and sees that they are completely surrounded by bandits on all sides. The bandit leader tells his crew not to harm Alice and Arthur, but to take out everyone else because they can be sold for a good price. The bandits cheer and rush into the fight, but they start getting taken down by Reynold and his team, one after another. Each member of the party is stronger individually, but they face a challenge as the bandits try to overwhelm them with their numbers. The constant fighting wears the party out, while the bandit leader challenges Reynolds to a one-on-one and slams him against the cart. Alice rushes to assist Reynolds, but he warns her against using her magic, saying it would only complicate things further. He stands up and instructs Arthur to take his mother to safety while he confronts the bandit leader. Arthur, eager to fight, insists he can take on the thugs, but his father yells at him to use his strength to protect his mother, who is pregnant. Arthur is confused about when that happened, but ultimately decides to run with Alice. Meanwhile, the bandit leader tries to go after them, but Reynolds attacks him again, forcing him to defend himself. Arthur keeps running, but soon encounters a group of enemies blocking his path. Luckily, his teammates are skilled fighters and take down the bandits one by one. Arthur expresses his gratitude and resumes his sprint, but suddenly they are ambushed by a mage who unleashes a powerful wind spell. Arthur decides to protect his mother, taking the full force of the attack himself, which sends him flying into the air and over the edge of a cliff. He makes up his mind that he won't die alone and throws his knife attached to a rope at his attacker, taking him down too. Both Dird and Angela quickly use their magic to try to save Arthur, while his mother cries out his name with tears in her eyes. Despite everything, Arthur feels a sense of peace, as if he has accomplished something. He starts to wonder if this is what happiness feels like, when suddenly tears fill his eyes, as he realizes he is about to become a big brother. But now that life has been taken from him. When Arthur opened his eyes after the fall, he realized he was still alive. Confused about his surroundings, he suddenly felt the ground shake as something massive approached him. He struggled to get up and see what it was, only to be met with a terrifying demon who called out his name. Although Arthur was scared, he was a courageous boy who refused to back down. He lunged at the demon to fight, but was gently pushed away. As he stood up, the demon informed him that he had much to learn and reassured him that she was actually a friend. Arthur was baffled by the situation, and then the demon began to gather some fruits for him. She insisted that he needed to eat before they could have a conversation, stating that she wouldn't answer any of his questions otherwise. Arthur has no option but to quickly eat the fruits, and then he asks the demon if his parents are fine. The demon shows him a vision of the road where his parents and their friends battled the bandits, surrounded by the fallen bandits. The demon reassures Arthur that everyone he cares about is safe, and that they resumed their journey days ago. Overcome with emotion, Arthur tears up with relief upon hearing this. He then asks the demon for her name so he can express his gratitude, and she replies that her name is Sylvia. A few days go by with Arthur still in Sylvia's cave, consuming the fruits to regain his strength while his wounds heal. He is eager to reunite with his parents, but Sylvia warns him that it won't be easy, as he must navigate through a forest teeming with dangerous creatures and outlaws. Even though she has a different method to bring Arthur back to his family, it requires tearing a hole in the fabric of space-time and takes quite a while. Arthur gets this, and while Sylvia works on the space-time hole, he keeps honing his skills. He realizes that despite Sylvia's demon-like appearance, she is genuinely kind and cares deeply for him. One day, while Arthur is focused on his Moncor, Sylvia decides to show him a trick that humans are unaware of. She collects mana from the air and shapes it into a ball in her hand, leaving Arthur amazed since he has never witnessed anything like it. Sylvia explains that most humans believe they can either gather mana or use it, but in nature, many beings can do both simultaneously. She offers to teach Arthur the trick, but first, she wants to know what he plans to do once he gets stronger. Arthur thinks about it for a while and finally says that he will kill anyone who threatens his people. Sylvia doesn't like this answer and pushes him away. Arthur gets angry, but Sylvia explains that he failed her test because she won't teach someone with such violent thoughts. Arthur is confused since he learned that getting stronger means defeating enemies. However, when Sylvia asks if he really enjoys thinking about violence, Arthur goes quiet. Sylvia explains to him that there are better ways to show strength than through violence, and she doesn't want him to throw his life away in anger and fighting. Her words resonate with Arthur, making him feel like Sylvia understands his past completely. She asks him once again, and this time he answers that he will protect those he loves. Sylvia is happy with his response and begins to teach him how to use magic from the environment around him. Arthur picks it up really fast, but when he rushes to demonstrate his new skills to Sylvia, she unexpectedly knocks him into the cave wall and covers him with rocks. Arthur is confused, but Sylvia communicates with him through telepathy, instructing him to stay quiet. A little while later, another demon similar to Sylvia shows up and asks her to return with him. She declines, and in response, the demon fires an energy ball at her. Arthur feels anxious, but Sylvia reassures him that she will be okay. She stands up to fight once more, tapping into her full strength, which causes her demon-like form to shatter and transform her into a white dragon. She then unleashes a hyper beam at the demon, who struggles to defend against it. The demon somehow nullifies her attack and retaliates with dark energy balls, some of which strike the cave. Sylvia gets momentarily distracted as she checks on Arthur's safety, giving the demon the chance to launch a powerful attack to knock her out. Realizing that Arthur is in danger because of this, she decides to risk everything for his escape. She channels all her energy to stop time and calls Arthur outside, urging him to go home immediately. She creates a hole in space and time, explaining that it won't lead him directly to his family, but he is now strong enough to fend for himself while searching for them. Arthur realizes that Sylvia is sacrificing herself for him, and his heart breaks because of that. But she makes him promise to use his power to protect the people he loves. She then gives him some parting gifts in the form of a crystal egg and a feather, asking him to take good care of it. After that, she kisses Arthur and suddenly he gets golden tattoos on both his arms. Sylvia tells him that he will learn their meaning and purpose when the right time comes. But for now, it is farewell. She then tells him that she didn't really need all this time to prepare a portal to send him home, and she delayed the process on purpose because she enjoyed the few days she spent with him. Arthur begins to cry when he hears this, realizing he isn't strong enough to protect her at that moment, despite his promise to protect everyone he loves. Sylvia reminds him that their promise doesn't count in this case, and urges him to hurry. He responds that it doesn't matter if she's a dragon or a demon because she's family, and you never abandon family. Sylvia points out that he already has a mom, so he decides to call her grandma, which makes the dragon cry. She then pushes Arthur toward the portal, and he takes the egg and feather with him. However, just as he steps into the portal and turns to say a final goodbye to Sylvia, he feels himself being pulled away. After he leaves, Sylvia unleashes her power and restores the cave's time to normal. She gets hit by the demon's attack and falls down. As the demon approaches her, thinking he's won, Sylvia surprises him by unleashing her full power right at him. Meanwhile, Arthur is moving through the portal and hears Sylvia's voice again. She reassures him that it's okay to feel sad, but he should strive to turn that sadness into happiness someday. Arthur feels like he can't do it, but Sylvia says that she knows he can do it because he was the strongest king in history. Arthur is taken aback that she knows about his past life and wants to ask her if she brought him to this world. But before he can, he steps out of the portal. After Arthur finishes crying over Sylvia, he stands up and puts the crystal egg in his pouch. He looks around and realizes he's in a dangerous, thick forest. Suddenly, he hears a girl screaming in the distance and jumps through the trees to find her. He soon discovers a group of bandits trying to kidnap an elf girl, discussing how much money they could make selling her to Epstein Island. This reminds him of when his group was attacked by the same bandits, who plan to do the same to him. Anger fills him as he sees the elf girl being taken. But remembering his promise to Sylvia, he controls his rage. Instead, he decides to follow the bandits, knowing they will lead him to the nearest human settlement. In the evening, when the bandits take a break, they start chatting about having some fun with the girl before selling her off. That's when Arthur decides he's had enough He begins to gather mana to confront the bandits and notices they're using magic colors to control wild monsters. He throws some nuts at the creatures, which makes them alert and start howling. The bandits freak out because that noise could attract all kinds of monsters, and one of them immediately goes to beat them into submission. Arthur sees this opportunity, creating a blade of mana around his hand, sneaking up behind the bandit and slashing him. He grabs the bandit's knife, but just then, another guy shows up looking for him. Arthur quickly takes him out before he can make a sound, but he realizes he's too exhausted to keep moving around. Before he has even time to relax, a third bandit arrives looking for his buddies, and Arthur jumps into action right away. He manages to hurt the bandit's leg, but the bandit shouts for his friend to watch out because they have a young mage with them. The fourth bandit gets really excited since young magic users are hard to find, and he thinks he can make a lot of money by selling him. Instead of attacking, he decides to use magic and drops his sword. He then lunges at Arthur with his magic-infused claws that smash the ground. Arthur somehow dodges the hit and tries to kick the bandit, but the bandit is quicker. Arthur throws a knife at him with a string attached, but the experienced bandit catches it easily and rushes at him. He kicks Arthur hard enough to knock him down and then flips him upside down. But then Arthur uses fire magic on his leg, making the bandit drop him. Before the bandit can get back on his feet, Arthur throws the knife again, this time swinging it around his neck so he can't escape as it goes straight into his forehead. After dealing with the last bandit, Arthur frees the elf girl, who reminds him of someone from his past. He quickly shakes off the memory and tells her she can go home, but she looks worried when she sees his injuries. Arthur reassures her that it's nothing serious and covers the bodies, so she doesn't have to see the gruesome scene. Even though she's still curious, he tells her they had an accident and won't bother her anymore. Arthur finds some bags in the carriage and tells the girl it's time for her to go home. However, she holds onto his hand, frightened, and pleads with him to let her come along. Feeling sorry for her, he agrees. He then looks at the enslaved monsters and decides it's best to end their suffering instead of freeing them. Meanwhile, the elf girl chooses to release the horned wolves, believing that all life deserves respect, and if she doesn't set them free, they will perish. Arthur cautions her, but she is confident the monsters won't harm them. She sets them free, and to Arthur's surprise, the monsters leave without causing any trouble, making him appreciate the girl's bond with nature. Afterward, he decides to drop her home, and during a break, he learns her name is Tesha. He prepares some food and encourages her to eat, even if she's not hungry, because that will help her regain her strength, which reminds him of Sylvia. Anyway, he notices Tesha fussing about the food because it doesn't taste good and demands to eat something sweet. Arthur thinks he should take notes from her on how to act like a regular kid, since she's the first person his age he's ever met. Tesha then asks him why he's there, and Arthur explains that he got lost from his parents. They keep moving towards the elf village, which takes way longer than Arthur expected. Tesha talks a lot about her village, and Arthur discovers that elf life is really different from human life. Suddenly, he feels a horned wolf stalking them, and he decides to take it down. At night, he tells Tesha to sleep in the tent while he stays outside to keep an eye out, and then he starts examining the crystal egg that Sylvia gave him. While he ponders what it could be, Tesha calls him to come into the tent. She assures him that she will keep it a secret from her family about him spending the night with her. However, Arthur insists that he prefers to stay outside. Soon, he realizes that Tesha is anxious about being alone in the tent, so he decides to go in to make her feel better. Inside, Tesha claims that all humans are perverts with many wives, and Arthur wishes that were the case. He asks her where she heard that, and she replies it was from her grandpa. Arthur refutes her claims, explaining that only rich nobles can afford multiple wives. But halfway through his explanation, Tesha falls asleep. The following day, they continue their journey, and Tess begins to feel more at ease around Arthur. He feels a bit annoyed by this because he wants to quickly find his family. Then, another issue arises. He experiences a sharp pain in his leg that leaves him too weak to walk. Tess rushes into the woods to gather some herbs for his healing. While Arthur sits alone, trying to cope with the pain, the horned wolf he saved earlier comes near him. Arthur panics, thinking the creature is going to attack him when he's at his weakest. Just then, Tess comes back with the herbs. He warns her to stay away because he believes the monster is going to strike. However, instead of attacking, the wolf drops a dead boar on the ground and retreats into the forest. Arthur is really puzzled by this, but Tess excitedly explains that the wolf wanted to show gratitude for saving its life. Eating the boar meat helps Arthur feel better, and Tess tells Arthur that she couldn't find any herbs, but she did come across some mushrooms that the women in her village eat regularly. Arthur eats them without thinking much, but soon he suffers from a bad case of diarrhea. After that, they head back to the tent, where Tesha begins sharing stories about the human and dwarf kingdoms that she learned from her grandfather. She expresses her desire to visit those kingdoms, but mentions that they are filled with dangerous people, so she can't go there, and outsiders aren't allowed in the elf village. Arthur only catches part of what she says because he's so tired that he falls asleep. The next day, Arthur's stomach pain returns, but he manages to cope since the elf village is close by. Tesha tells him that they are friends now, but he doesn't know how to respond since he has never had friends before, making things a bit awkward. He starts to think about the closest person he had to a friend in his previous life, and how he ended up killing her. Suddenly, Tesha screams in excitement when she spots the entrance to the elf village. Arthur's taken aback, but Tesha reaches out her hand, urging him to follow her. He takes her hand and they approach the elf village, but a group of guards quickly arrives, sensing an intruder. Arthur is confused about what's happening as the guards take him into custody. When he sees the indifferent expression on Tesha's face, he starts to worry about what will happen to him next. If you enjoyed this video, think about subscribing and check out the next video.